Good morning, and I call this meeting to order. This is our regularly scheduled, or our regular board meeting for the month of June. So thank you to all of those who are in attendance, those who may be viewing online. I appreciate you all being here. So at this time, we'll have a moment of silence, and then Mr. Ellis will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So a moment of silence, please.
All stand. It's a flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mr. Murphy, if you'll read our mission, please.
Yes, ma'am. Cherokee County's Board of Education's mission is for every student to graduate from high school and be globally competitive for work, post-secondary education, and prepared for life in the 21st century.
Thank you. You have the agenda before you. Are there any additions or corrections that need to be made, modifications that need to be made to the agenda? Hearing none, the agenda stands. Next, we have the consensus of minutes from our regular meeting from May the 18th. Do I have any, are there any objections or corrections to the minutes from the previous meeting? Okay, hearing none, the minutes stand. All right, moving right along. Mr. Chapman, do we have any public?
No, ma'am.
Great. Dr. Woody, I'll yield the floor to you.
Thank you. First thing you have in your packet is the facilities report information. You'll see multiple things on it. First of all, you'll see the bid and the price that we'll be paying for our propane. Also in your packet, you have about our driver's ed contract that will be there. The third item is the company that vets for our charter bus company. And then by policy, we'll bring you back a list of those. In the past, I've understood that you only got 3 or 4 brought back, but this year we're going to bring back the entire list so that if we're off in Raleigh and somebody breaks down or we need that, then we'll have those groups already approved. So we're going to do that a little bit different this year. They tested the generators there at multiple schools. I skipped the water testing again at multiple schools. Down at property transfer, we're moving out of the early college trailers over there, so we're going to basically give those 2 modular units to the Tri-County Early College for their use. They have requested them. Am I correct on that, Mr. Higgins? They did request
Yes, sir.
those
They
two.
want to use those for instructional purposes.
So you're
So-
talking about the community college, not the early college?
The community college, yes.
Okay, you said early college.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, they're wanting them. And then 2 other items here for half-cent sales tax for approval. The Miller well drilling and train there. The next item that I have is you'll see a certificate. It should have been there for you, a certificate of occupancy that we have for our new facility. Also, I did want to tell you that after our meeting, we're going to give you opportunity. We're going over there, give you opportunity to walk through. If you would like to do that, the board or anyone else present, we're going to go over there immediately after we finish. And I think you'll really enjoy the product that we have to offer our students. I gave you a map. Duke Power has asked at the Oaks to redo the power line. The power line, the way it comes in right now, would be sort of to the right top You can see sort of a bare spot toward the right top. The power line runs from there to the end of the yellow line currently. They've asked, could they bring the line across? There's a line that already comes across from where you see like the yellow line to where it stops there, about at the school facility. All they're basically asking is to run it on. So what we've talked to them, and the reason I brought it to you is they're allowing them to do this. It's going to require us to bring back a contract, the land where it's going to show there's a right-of-way there, and that's the reason that I'm bringing it to you. But they're going to set a new pole. We're going to have them to do the blue line, and all they're going to have to do is put a guy wire there where the yellow and the blue line meet, and then they're going to set another pole there, take out all the wires on the other piece of property there. So it's just going to make it a little bit better on maintaining, because they said that's sort of harder to maintain in that dip. There's a dip there on that piece of property. I did talk to Mr. Wood, who gave a donation because it is close to that memorial there, and he said feel free to do whatever we felt would be okay.
Dr. Woody, I have a real quick question, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Since we're discussing this, what are we planning to do with this? We might not be prepared to have that full discussion, but what are we planning to do with this property once this school is closed in this building?
Well, again, that's, if you remember a month or so ago, that was what I brought up for board to discuss, and again, that'll be something within the probably next board meeting or the next that we'll need to decide exactly what we're going to do.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you. The next thing is that, and you don't have this in your packet, but I did want to give recognition to some people. I don't know if you noticed out front on the front of the building that our sign out there has been redone, and I did want to recognize those people that had a part in that. Darren Cook and his students in the carpenter class at Murphy High School repaired the rotten sections by fabricating molds and pouring resin to fill the bad places in it, and we want to thank them for that. Also involved in that was Brandon Klontz and his students at Murphy High School in the art class. They repainted it, and then Mr. Johnson in the maintenance department, they came and took it down, took it up there, and then put it back up. So we want to give thanks, because if you haven't noticed it, it looks much better out there. So we do want to mention that. You have the personnel report in front of you that's been given to you. And the next thing that I wanted to show you was a video. The North Carolina Lottery, since we received funding for the Schools of Innovation, reached out to me to see if they could come and do a video. And so there were several people involved in coming and doing interviews, but this is a version that they have sent to us. So I'm going to ask if Mr. Rickett will play that video. I thought it would give you opportunity to see it.
Really, it was kind of startling at first. Anything it has to offer.
Just to get people in, get students in, it's very exciting. We are standing in our new Schools of Innovation. What it'll do for the district is provide opportunities that students have not had. There's three components of it: a CTE, our alternative school, and our early college.
If you want to do drones, if you want to do carpentry, if you want to do mechatronics, if you want to do nursing, public service, we have it all here to know that they're going to be able to come here and really hone in on those skills and learn so much from people who are doing it every day. It's amazing, and building this workforce, economic development.
There's a place on the second floor. You can look out the window of one of the early college windows, and you see the trailers that they're currently using. You can see where we're coming from to where we're going to be, and that's very emotional for me. Yeah. So
Early college is moving into its 18th year of existence. In my mind, this facility is going to be a game changer for the students who come here.
The new Cherokee County Schools of Innovation is made possible with $15 million in funding from the North Carolina Education Lottery.
Having that grant award made it possible to do it. Without the grant award, the community, the county would not have been able to have funded it.
If we had not received the grant money, we wouldn't have been able to do this. That's how crucial it is. This site would not exist without the grant money. I can't stop smiling, and I tear up most of the time.
It's an amazing opportunity for our students in Cherokee County. This is going to be revolutionary for us.
And I thought they did a very good professional job on it, and I thought it was important that you had the opportunity to see it. The last thing that I have on my report today is I'm privileged to name the Principal of the Year for Cherokee County this year. This gentleman has served Cherokee County for many years, and if I could get you, Ms. Raper, and Mr. Ellis, if you two could go around and we'll present this award today. I'm sure they can shake hands with all the board members, but today I'm proud to announce that the Principal of the Year for Cherokee County is Mr. Paul Wilson. Congratulations, sir. Congratulations. Now, did you have a 15-minute speech?
Not even a 5-second speech, because I was really sure that was going to go to maybe somebody else, but I really do appreciate it. It's a great honor, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate what you do.
Yes, yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
And that concludes my report.
Okay, so we've heard the report from Dr. Woody. Mr. Chapman, if we could get a roll call vote to approve this report, please.
I'm sorry, real
Okay.
quick, I have a real quick question. Since
Sure
we're
thing.
doing personnel separate, are we gonna wait to approve the personnel? You're doing it separate from your report?
I wasn't planning on it.
Not letting either.
I was not at this time.
So what do we do?
Or you have to take a roll call at this time and
Okay.
see if it passes. If not, then we can bring it back
Okay.
after discussion.
Okay, so I need a motion and a second to approve Dr. Woody's report as presented. Do I have a,
I'll make that motion.
okay, second?
Second.
Okay. Mr. Ellis, any discussion?
No.
Mr. Murphy, any discussion?
No.
Okay, other board members, discussion? Okay. Mr. Chapman, could we roll call, please?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Tathan?
Yes, with objections.
Mr. Matthews?
Aye.
Mr. Murphy? Mr. Ellis?
Aye.
Mrs. Gaddis?
Aye.
Mrs. Raper?
Aye. Okay. All right, at this time, Ms. Haas, I yield the floor to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In your packets, for your finance report, we do have budget adjustments for all of our funds as we're coming to the end of our fiscal year close. If you look with me on your budget adjustment summary sheet, I'll move down through those, but you do have the details to what these budget amendments reflect on each of the fund tabs for, that's in your report. First, in our state public school fund, we are making an adjustment of $335,051.01. Predominantly, this is driven by that PRC 009, which is that non-contributory employee benefits. This is a guaranteed allotment by the state. This is where the state will backfill the payments that we have had to make out for those that qualify for longevity, annual leave, any type of bonus leave that they may have awarded in a budget cycle. And that, is usually presented to the board at our closeout meeting because it reflects the entire, fiscal year. The expense part of that also is the traffic that you see in the lower end of your, budget on your detail sheet. Also want to bring to your attention PRC 004, which is K-5 Program Enhancement Teachers. We exceeded our allotment by $5,991.50, but this is also a guaranteed allotment because it is positions. So even though that we have gone over the dollar amount that they had assigned there, they do backfill those dollars to us, but we do reflect them on our sheet. We do have a little bit of traffic in our state public school fund this month for our ABC transfers. The allowable use of our allotment system to realign where the allotments come to by the state statute. They do have to put them into the allotments and categories that they award to us, but they do give us transfer capabilities to make some realignments for uses that make sense to us in Cherokee County Schools. Our local current expense fund, the traffic that you see here is the year-end closeout. This is where we take your local current expense ends up being a lot of times your slush fund. After you have closed your other state funds, which are your larger revenue sources, you do have the end of year entries of where you make those realignments. It does not affect your revenue, it does not affect the budgets or any of the decisions that you have made. It's just putting them into their correct purpose codes as we close our fiscal year end. Federal programs, we did have a reversion in our PRC 173 because the state did not give us the opportunity to reuse that funding. We have some of the COVID funding as it was awarded has to be used for an intended purpose. This was one of those ones that they did not give us the opportunity to use it in any way despite our attempts to use it in that manner. And then PRC 188, after other LEAs had closed their fiscal year, there was additional funds that they found that they could not use, much like what ours was. So we have received an additional allotment for additional use before this funding will expire. Dr. Woody addressed your capital projects fund. These are the capital budget requests and making those adjustments. Our school nutrition fund, this is, we have a budget amendment to account for our summer feeding program. This is the estimate that will go toward joining their other previous established budget. And then down to grants, donations, and reimbursement fund, I want to just draw your attention to one thing. There is a transfer between your 5200s and 5300 purpose codes just for a clerical error. It had been presented previously in the wrong code, but it is appropriately approved in the alternative program. So that's just addressing that for budget issues. I also have for you, you have two charts, two color charts. This is your budget percentage to funding source. With the approval of the budgets budgets and the budget amendments as presented, this will bring your total budget to a little over 65 million. It shows you the breakdown by percentages. I do want to highlight that our capital projects fund is still elevated because we have the last bit of that grant that we are working our way through on that. So these percentages may look different next year because we do not have that capital project. But as you can see, our state public school fund still makes up over half of our funding for Cherokee County Schools. The second funding you have is a budget to actual comparison of where your budget has been spent down to what your actual expenditures were for the year. That's for informational purposes. Also for your approval, you should have a copy of your insurance coverages. We have submitted to you a continuation of our current coverages. We did reach out around the market, did not find any better pricing, but as you may see in your personal policies, there are definite increases that are going up. Replacement costs on our autos, on our property, they are definitely on the rise, and that also is impacting our general liability as well. I did also give you a larger copy of the School of Innovation sheet. I apologize, the one in your packet I understand was very tiny, and this was the largest piece of paper that I have. This brings you through pay app 33 for that School of Innovation project. Following the approval of the budget amendments as presented, I'm also going to ask you to approve the interim budget resolution. Because the state has not yet provided us a budget, we are not prepared to adopt a budget for our 2023-2024 fiscal year. So the interim budget resolution is an approval of the board to allow for, make appropriations available for us to continue to pay salaries and usual customary expenses until the budget resolution is presented. I do also have some totals for you if you want to put them down. In our half-cent sales tax, we have a balance of $3,945,962. In our quarter-cent sales tax, our balance is $1,967,682. And then a date for you. According to our debt service schedule, we do have one debt service that will be coming off our books in September of 2023, which is Ranger School Improvements. That leaves us with only one debt service. That's the renovation of Andrews High School, and the maturity date for it, futuristic, is December of 2025. And the administration requests approval of the finance report as presented.
Thank you, Ms. Hass. You've heard Ms. Hass's report. So I need a motion and a second to approve her report as presented.
Oh, can you give me the half-cent balance?
Sure. Half-cent balance, $3,945,962.
And the Ranger debt service that's coming out, how much is that gonna save us?
The payment on it has been, let me just look through here, it's a semi-annual payment of $60,000 plus interest. So that will be approximately $120,000 annually.
And, Ms. Hass, what do we pay that out of, and do we pay that out of half-cent?
Half-cent, yes, sir. All of the debt service payments have been tagged to the half-cent sales tax, because they were previous to the receipt of the quarter-cent.
And the Murphy High School renovations are paid off, those are already paid off?
Yes, that rolled off this year. The only thing that we will have after September of 2023 is the Andrews High School.
Any more questions?
I have another one that's not directly related to the resolution, I guess, but it's budget related. So, Ms. Hass, can you remind us how much of our local budget that we're using for reoccurring costs are coming out of quarter-cent for this year?
Currently established, you have, and I'm gonna, let me flip through, I can tell you exactly. Currently, you have established in your local budget $544,664. That amount represents the SRO grant match, as well as the shortfall of our 2022-2023 budget, where we had reappeared and asked the commissioners to backfill that, and they allowed us to designate our quarter-cent sales tax. That is the combination of those two. For approval today, you had the local current expense approval of $153,552, which is the amount that this board has designated for the 2 athletic trainers. That would bring you to a current reoccurring cost of $698,216.
Thank you. So, so the increase that we asked the commissioners for that they denied, that's not considered recurring?
It would be. So if the increase, in our budget proposal, we did ask the commissioners to increase our budget by approximately $400,000. I'm sorry, I don't have the total directly in front of me. That amount was derived from the governor's budget, which had higher estimates than the other 2 chambers. The House and the Senate came. They are currently in conference. We don't have any additional information to share about that. So I do think that because the governor's budget was such an outlier, there is opportunity for some savings in the amount that we had proposed. The county did approve their budget on Monday night, but they have only approved it currently as it stands because the increases are unknown. I would like, once we know what those increases are, I believe that we would then bring it back to the board at that time for discussion on how we are going to meet those needs.
But most likely, that it's a pretty safe bet that'll be quarter cent that we'll have to use.
It,
to pay that.
from where I'm looking at our revenue sources, it would need to be one of two things. Either we would have to, ask the county to consider additional appropriation, or they may ask of us to designate our quarter cent sales tax. But those would be the only two revenue sources for that local budget that we could harness.
And that revenue source averages about $750,000 a year that it gets, is that correct?
For quarter cent
For quarter
sales
cent.
tax, yes, sales tax is volatile because it just depends on the consumer. But anywhere between $750, now we have definitely the last couple of years, because, consumerism has been on the rise, we've definitely seen additional, but that's probably a really good estimate for that revenue source.
Okay, so, correct me if I'm wrong, so if I'm breaking that all down, so we've got 1.9 approximately in there now. We're gonna use at least 544,000 out of there to as a stopgap for our budget.
Correct.
Plus we've got the 150 for the trainers. So that leaves us just under $750,000 minimum that will be to make our budget work every year. Out of the quarter cent, which averages about $750, give or take, plus whatever the raises end up being, which we budgeted high, but we did budget, you said it was about 400?
About 400, yes, sir.
So that
We-
math is kinda scary.
You're correct in terms of we are nearing where reoccurring expenses are going to start straining that revenue. I see where you're going at, you're correct. But what we have been doing in administration is trying to find opportunities to offset that with our allotment usage, with our teacher placements through attrition, retirements, resignations, to help take that local burden and put them into our state allotments so we can hopefully cost avoid reaching that full threshold. But those discussions are still kinda underway till we know what the state budget's gonna be. There are opportunities.
All right, thank you.
Okay, do I have a motion and a second?
Make a motion.
In a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Mr. Murphy, any discussion? Mr. Ellis, any discussion?
No.
Okay, remaining board members, any discussion? Mr. Chapman, roll call vote, please.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Matthews?
Aye.
Mr. Murphy?
Aye.
Mr. Ellis?
Aye.
Mrs. Gaddis?
Aye.
Mr. Taven?
Aye.
And Mrs. Draper?
Aye.
I'm gonna hand you this. This is just the expansion of all of the budget amendments for the fiscal year, so you can have that to look at, reflection of all the decisions.
Great.
It will also be posted on our website.
Excellent, thank you.
You got it? Me to do.
Kill.
Yeah, I need a bigger paper.
Hey.
Our CFO's cheap. Oh, is that?
Oh, okay, so I need to read it from this. Okay, absolutely will. Okay. Okay, counts down. Board chair report. I don't have a whole lot. I just wanted to make a few comments about, just the year in general. So, you all made it. You got to the end of the year. Graduation was wonderful. I attended as many as I could. I appreciate all the hard work by all staff, teachers, administrators, central office, additional personnel in the school. You know, list goes on and on and on. It really does not work unless everybody works together. So, I appreciate how everybody has come together, how everybody has worked together. It's always to the benefit of our students, and I'm just glad to see that. I appreciate the hard work that this board has done, as well as central office, and getting to the end of the year. I know it's a lot of stress, and we've been going through a lot of budget things, so I appreciate appreciate you, Ms. Hass and Dr. Woody. This has been a new experience for me to be on this side of it, so some things I have learned along the way, hopefully will help me better in the future. But I appreciate the support that we've gotten, the support that's been offered to me, because, you know, like I said, it's just been new every single day. I don't really have anything else right now, so we're gonna move along to the next item on the agenda, which is old business. We have the following policies are up for second reading, so I'm going to read off the policies, bear with me. 1610 -7800 professional and staff development, 3101 dual enrollment, 4023 education for pregnant or parenting students, 4130 discretionary admission, 4150 school assignment, 4310 standards for expected student behavior, policy number 5008 automated phone and text messaging, 5040 news media relations, 6220 operation of school nutrition services, 6315 drivers, 6330 insurance for student transportation services, 6402 participation by historically underutilized businesses, 6430 purchasing requirements for equipment, materials, and supplies, 7503 teleworking, 7810 evaluation of licensed employees, and 7815 evaluation of non-licensed employees. So all of these are in your packet. I hope you've had a chance to read through them. I know it was a lot, but I need a motion and a second to approve these policies as presented.
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion to approve these policies for second reading as presented with the exception of discretionary admission. I would request in my motion that we table this one until next month, just because our admissions practices can be kind of complicated at times, and I worry that we might be introducing bigger changes than what we expect. So I would just like to table this one so we can have a little more discussion on it, unless we want to have that discussion now.
Okay, well, put that, what do you all want to do? Do you want to table that one policy till next month? Just pull the board real quick. Okay, all right, what about a second?
Took his motion?
Mm-hmm.
I'll second your motion.
Okay, so Mr. Tatham, do you have additional comment?
No, not at this time.
Okay. Mr. Matthews, do you have comment?
One thing I would note, and I don't know if it was just an oversight, but these two policies, the 4130 as well as 4150, were not included in the original agenda. They're not listed in that.
It's an oversight.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
I apologize.
No, it's okay. And I did not see those in our online information either, unless it's been added later. But that's fine if it was an oversight. I just wanted to make note of that. And they're in our package.
Okay, great. Yeah,
But
yeah.
they're just, they were not listed on this original
Yeah,
agenda.
that was a mistake on my part.
And again, I did not see them in the online policy information, but I may have just overlooked it, so. Thank you.
Okay, fellow board members, any discussion? Okay. All right, so, all right, roll call. All right. Mr. Chapman, can we roll call that, please?
Mr. Murphy. Mr. Ellis.
Aye.
Mrs. Gaddis.
Aye.
Mr. Tatham.
Aye.
Mr. Matthews. Aye. Mrs. Draper.
Aye. Okay. All right, next up, the CTE plan for the 23-24 school year. Dr. Woody?
If you remember last month, the CTE plan was brought to you. The plan is a 2-year plan. This is just an update to for the second year. It's just a continuation. You have that information there. It was also wanting a little more information about the Career Academy, so you'll see the second sheet with a lot of work, and I can't compliment the staff, whether we're talking about transportation, whether we're talking about CTE, principals, people within this office have worked very diligently to try to secure a plan that will work. And that just gives you a synopsis there of the career. It's still, there's weekly meetings to still continue to iron out. There's gonna be some hiccups, we all know, which open this new school and start the new program, but things are being worked on to try to eliminate as much as those as possible. So this is the CTE plan as presented.
Okay. So you have the plan as presented before you. I need a motion and a second to approve this plan.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. And a second?
Second.
Mr. Ellis, any discussion?
No.
Mr. Murphy, any discussion? Fellow board members, any discussion?
Yes, Madam Chair. If we could get a reminder as we approve this, vote to approve this, and we move forward with the Schools of Innovation, can we get a reminder on what CTE courses are currently offered at each school? We have what's going to be offered at the Schools of Innovation, but can we get a reminder of that? Here.
I'm sorry. So how, do you want me to verbally say that now? If I can remember, or do you want me to send that to you in an email to all of you? I have you
Well,
that information.
if you know it, I'd just like to kind of, for the board to kind of be aware. I'm sorry to put you on the spot.
Oh, that's okay. So, like Andrews High School, we have a health science teacher, so we have the health science professional pathway. We have computer science and technology education, and foods and nutrition pathways at Andrews High School. At Hiwassee Dam, the teachers there teach public safety, foods and nutrition, health science professional, and then a couple different business pathways. Well, there's marketing, sports and event marketing, which is actually under hospitality and tourism. And then there's supplementary courses also there, like Microsoft Office and Microsoft Word, that is taught, that's not tied really to a pathway. And those teachers also, they rotate and teach middle school classes there, the high school teachers do. At Murphy High School, carpentry, woodworking, Adobe, food and nutrition, sports and event marketing and regular marketing, healthcare professional, entrepreneurship, and computer science. And we've had drone and public safety there as well, with some additional supplementary courses of Microsoft Office courses. And career management from time to time is offered at all those schools as well as a supplementary course. And then of course, you have the list there for what we propose for the Career Academy courses.
Did the early college in the Oaks how does that work with CTE?
Well, we do have a health science teacher that's going over to the early college and doing health science classes there this past year, and she'll continue to do that next year. And the Oaks, it's just as needed. Sometimes they use admin, the online class, to do some CTE classes. This year we didn't have any students. Well, actually there was one, but he was there for credit recovery that was taking one class, and he did that online. So that's kind of as needed basis when they were at Marble.
And another question I have, one of the health sciences classes that's offered is pharmacy tech, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And that's offered at Murphy High School?
It is, and actually, any of our teachers, once they're certified, can teach that, and when they can get it in their schedule. So the teacher, and the way that they do that, it's mainly a computerized online class, and the teacher's there just to kind of be the, yeah, help out as they go along, you know, and they need help, so, we have a new teacher this year at Andrews High School, and she's gotta go through and get her own certification for pharmacy tech before she could teach it. So she's not teaching that yet. She's going to summer conference, and I would assume she'll be getting some, I know she's gonna pick up some additional certifications this summer that will allow her to do some additional classes next year for certifications. But this year, what we were able to do was allow those students to come to Murphy High School and take pharmacy tech. And then there was also students at Hiwassee Dam that took pharmacy tech. And they took that during the same time that the teacher was teaching another class, because she was teaching nursing fundamentals, those students were over here working on their online class. And then they had access to the teacher if they needed help.
And for the students that took pharmacy tech at Murphy from a different school, they had to provide their own transportation, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I would just like to say, and thank you for all that. And I know, as you've said, Dr. Woody, this is, the Schools of Innovation is a work in progress, and it's gonna, I'm sure, continually evolve. And it looks like we are moving toward covering some of these gaps in what's offered between the schools. But I would just like to say that it's my hope that we continue to move in that direction. I mean, there's obviously still gaps in what's offered to our students, and the intent of that was to make sure those gaps are filled, so that especially as we move forward, and we're not going to consolidate the high schools, so that a student at, whether they're at Hiwassee Dam, Murphy, or at Andrews, that they have access to all the same courses, no matter where they attend school. So I just hope that we're moving in that direction, and so I'm glad we're doing that. And I just like to say that I hope we continue to move in that direction to cover those inequities that we have being spread out between 3 high schools.
But I think that's also probably based on student interest at each school as well, too, right? So you may have a lot more student interest at one school that you may not necessarily, in one class, that you might not necessarily have in another school. So I feel like, you know, if we're not addressing that, okay, but I think we do a good job with that.
We do, and a good example of that this year was, we had a teacher teaching technology education in a career management class, and so after first semester, he said, can I teach a computer science class? And I said, well, sure, do you have student interest? He said, yeah. Because a lot of those students in technology education, he had gotten to know, and he realized that he had some students that would benefit from computer science. And so the next semester, he had 24 students in his computer science class.
Great.
And and then one day I was at Hiwassee Dam, and one of the students there was just talking in general, and I said, so what do you want to do? What field do you think you want to go into? And he said, computer science. And I said, well, gosh, so they had, at that time, they had public safety, they didn't have computer science, right? And so it is a balancing act sometimes, and what teachers are certified.
Sure. And
where they can teach, and what we can put in front of them. And sometimes we have to go to the internet to try to use admin, where we try to and have a teacher as a facilitator there, and having a certified teacher on the other end. So we just try to balance it out and make it work the best way we can for the benefit of all students.
And those are good points. I'd just like to say that if you have a student, say at Hiwassee Dam, they want to take, I'm just looking at this list, they want to take carpentry. It's not offered at Hiwassee Dam, it's offered at Murphy. From the education side, if one student has interest in it, they should be provided, in my opinion. But then if you provide that to one student, you provide basically a one-on-one tutor, well, that gets expensive. That's going to burn a lot of her months of employment. So this School of Innovation allows you the opportunity to offer some of these things in one class, and you're not duplicating those services. It offers you the opportunity to offer that, and then students from any school could come and take those. There's definitely going to be the interest for any of these between 3 schools. but then you're not having to, I don't wanna say waste your months of employment, but if you're offering a class for students, that's using a lot of your, it's not an efficient use of your months of employment. But we have that issue, overall with our teacher allotments too, when we have grade levels with less than 10 kids in them, you know, so, I mean, that's one part of a much bigger problem that we have, as far as our efficiency, so.
Okay, any other discussion? All right.
I just want, sorry. And I know I've spoken with Ms. Hayes about, this link, this link on our information. I'm fairly computer literate, and that's really difficult to find. I know that you had sent me like the PDF or something like that, which I was able to access, and I would just suggest that even on the website, that when you go to CTE, that you're able to very easily click on that and come to that plan. Because and that's what I was doing a minute ago, I went to this, says the plan in its entirety can be found at this web address, and I went to that, and I cannot locate it. And I have a bachelor's degree and a master's degree, so I feel like I should be able to do it, and I feel like that anybody that goes on that website should be able to quickly find that. It should be really easy to locate, even though it's a lot of technical information, and I think I forget how many pages it is, a lot, 80-some pages, and most people are not gonna wanna do that, but I just wanna make that suggestion.
And actually, I went on there the other day after you told me that.
Yeah.
And I as well tried, because you should be able just to go in as under public.
Right.
When I clicked that link, it did not go to anything.
No, and I just tried.
It's either there's a glitch there on the state side, or maybe they're in there because it is the end of the year and they're
Okay.
pulling data and they're working there. I don't know, but
Okay.
I will
I'll
reach
just
out to
follow
my.
up on that.
Yeah, I will. I'll reach out to my regional coordinator
Okay,
and
thank
let
you.
her know.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any more discussion? Okay, Mr. Chapman?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Ellis. Aye. Mrs. Gaddis.
Aye.
Mr. Tatum. Mr. Matthews. Aye. Mr. Murphy. Mrs. Shepherd.
Aye. All right, next item on the agenda is new business. So the only policy that we've got forthcoming is, it's a first reading, is policy number 8210, grants and funding for special projects. So we'll move on to the next item, item B, facilities report, and I will turn the floor over to Mr. Tatum.
Oh, thank you. Last meeting I talked a little bit about an alternative plan as an alternative to Mr. Coleman's. I apologize, I don't have a better presentation. He had a very nice PowerPoint. But I was asked to do a little research on that and compare capacity and enrollment numbers and different things. Let me back up and say that I did receive quite a bit of positive feedback about that, which kind of surprised me a little bit. So I am glad that that sparked an interest. But as I did crunch the numbers and look at enrollment capacity, based on next year's enrollment numbers, it looks like what I had proposed, just to remind everybody, was build the consolidated high school building as we designed for it. Build that in the same proposed location, but make that Murphy High School. And since that building would be over capacity for Murphy High School, you would also move Murphy Middle there and make that basically a 6 through 12 school, which would free up the current Murphy Middle School. And so what I was proposing is make the current Murphy Elementary in downtown your pre-K through 2, so your primary school for the Murphy district, and that would be for pre-K through 2 for Murphy, Martins Creek, and Peachtree students, and then make you the current Murphy Middle, which is right beside of Murphy High School, make that your elementary school grades 3 through 5 for Murphy, Martins Creek, and Peachtree. But what I found with the capacity numbers, the capacity of the building plus projected enrollment numbers, it works for the Murphy Elementary building for the primary school, but not for 3 through 5. So the current numbers would put the current Murphy Middle School building over capacity. So at that point, I think if we wanted to move forward with something like that, it would involve either mobile units or somehow trying to utilize one of the buildings at Murphy High School. And I would imagine if we did something like that, it would have to be truly dedicated to elementary, because you wouldn't want elementary students and high school students crossing paths. So I don't know if that's even possible. So that's kind of where that's at. It's just, I don't think it's gonna work. It's not gonna be as easy. So unless the board has real strong feelings about that, and I did say when I initially proposed it that I was just putting that out as an alternative, and that I also could go along with Mr. Coleman's plan, you know, except for maybe a few things that I disagree with, but overall I could support that. And so given that it would require more discussion and more work, I would probably rather pursue the plan that Mr. Coleman had proposed, so we can go ahead and have some discussions on moving forward and hopefully applying for this grant cycle.
Jeff, do you have those capacity numbers for Murphy Middle School? I pulled those a while back myself, but I don't have my computer with me to be able to pull up that email.
Yes, sir, I think it's, the capacity is 332.
From that middle school?
Yeah, and the enrollment numbers for that would be, I've got 361. So it'd be 105 students for third grade, 124 students for fourth grade, and 132 students for fifth grade, which is 361, which puts us just under 30 students over capacity.
Do you have the current enrollment for Murphy Middle School right now, as it stands right now?
I did get that. I don't have it right in front of me. I think it was just over 300. I think for years, that school has always hovered at right at capacity, slightly over.
Yeah.
So it's been an ongoing issue.
Well, and the reason I say that is that might possibly play into the idea I had, which I apologize, I wasn't here last month to hear your complete idea. But I emailed Mr. Chapman not long ago, and this is just kind of another alternative maybe. So for the West End, I think one of Mr. Coleman's, and I don't remember exactly what yours said, are pretty much the same. I would say a complete consolidation of Ranger and Hollis and Danville West End K through 12. To me, financially and everything else, that just kind of makes the most sense for that end of the county. But where I know mine and yours differed a little bit was I would propose a consolidation of Peachtree and Marks Creek together, and then the whole 6 through 12 Murphy High School thing. And then the west or east end would be the same as Mr. Coleman's, where you would move the middle school into the high school and then move the elementary school to the middle school. So honestly, the three plans are a lot alike, but there's just some smaller differences between the three, I think.
Dr. Lee?
One thing I did want to tell all of you, I've asked Gunny if he would summarize everybody's plan, everybody that suggested anything, and bring that to the July meeting so that everybody would have that in mind. And he may have already reached out to you if you made a proposal to clarify that he has it down correctly, what you proposed. But I have asked him to do that, to bring to the July meeting, so it will be a summary of everybody's plans together. And I think that will make it easier for everybody.
I just say one more thing real quickly. So, Mr. Murphy, what I had proposed for Hiawassee Dam and Ranger was different than what you.
I remember reading it. I think it was basically Ranger would be a pre-K through 5. Is that right? And then
Yes.
Kinda like that merge that has been talked about before.
Right, it's the merge that we've discussed
Yeah.
2 or 3 times, and so the thinking there is, I haven't looked at capacity, but pretty sure that could be handled, plus you wouldn't have to close the school, and it wouldn't cost any money. So the downside of that is, you're still running 2 buildings, but the upside of that is, most of your costs are around people, and it's not, we don't need people, so we're gonna fire teachers thing, but we always have attrition every year. So it'd basically be, when you have a free teacher spot, nobody's being fired or laid off, you just don't fill that position. So I crunched some of those numbers, so like one example is for 2nd grade, if you did that, if my numbers are correct right now, as it stands, having a 2nd grade in 2 different places, it requires 3 teachers. With the current enrollment numbers, you would only need 2 teachers for 2nd grade. It's not firing anybody, but that's, with benefits and everything, that's a teacher spot, that's $50,000 plus, that you could potentially save because you could move people around and not have to refill that position. So.
Once we get those summaries, Stephanie, could you take those summaries and break those down to cost savings for personnel, facilities? That way, gosh, I just feel like we're talking in circles here, what ifs. And until you see numbers, you're right, it's people's where we save money. But if we don't start closing schools, we're not gonna save any money at all. So once those summaries are done, can you take those and make a spreadsheet to where we
Ms.
actually
Gibson
have hard
and I-
numbers?
Ms. Gibson and I can take our current personnel and drop those in, with the ideas that you have. And then I'll work with Mr. Higdon on our current facility cost, and we can compile at least a document to get us started to see what additional information you may also need. But yes, we can start with that.
Yeah, that gives us some based on better than what we're doing right here. And to your point, Mr. Ellis, every building that we keep open that's a potential chiller that breaks, that's a potential well pump that goes out, that's a potential
We have
roof
13
that has to be replaced.
So let's get rid of a bunch of them.
Okay, moving right along. So, our next school board meeting will be held at 5:30 p.m. on Thursday, July the 20th, at the Schools of Innovation. So, we'll not be here, we'll be at the Schools of Innovation next month. I look forward to being out there, to seeing how far it's come since I've been there a month ago. So, mark it down, July the 20th, 5:30, Schools of Innovation. All right, final comments, Mr. Tatham.
I have none.
Ms. Gaddis? Mr. Matthews?
No.
Mr. Murphy? Mr. Ellis? Okay, all right. Mr. Chapman?
Nothing today.
Dr. Woody?
I just want to say, thank you for all that the staff did, to end the school year, to say what you said. Also, did want to recognize our new principals. I think they're here today. Miss Wendy Leatherwood, Murphy High School, Miss Jocelyn Parker Booth at Andrews Middle, and Mr. Adam Klontz at Murphy Middle. So I just wanted to recognize them, and the only thing else, have a happy 4th of July.
Okay, I echo those sentiments. Again, I know it's a massive undertaking, and y'all have done great this year. I look forward to the School of Innovation opening, so those of you who can go today, you said y'all were gonna go afterwards?
Just when our meeting in closed session finishes.
Okay, so when we're finished with closed session, if you want to go over there and see what has happened in the last few months, especially if it's been a while since you've been there, you're going to be impressed. I appreciate the video that the lottery came out and did, and spoke with several of our students and administrators and principals, and so that's nice to see that highlight. And again, happy 4th of July. So I need a motion and a second, to adjourn to closed session.
Pursuant to the provisions of North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A3 and 143-318.11C, I move that the Cherokee County Board of Education go into closed session for the following purposes, under subsection A1, to prevent the disclosure of privileged or confidential personnel information pursuant to General Statute 115C-319-321.
Okay, so the motion?
Second.
Okay. All right, all in favor, just say aye.
Aye.
All right, we're going into closed session. Thank you very much.